It's early afternoon in the Windy City, and two aces will take the mound at U.S. Cellular Field. The Indian silent triggerman, reigning Cy Young Award winner Corey Kluber, looks for his first win of the season against the long, lanky gunslinger of the Southside Sox gang, Jeff Samardzija. Will the Tribe's stoic right-hander win the draw, or will it be the Pale Hose who prevail? Find out next on Sports Time Ohio. From the south side of Chicago, it's the series finale between the Cleveland Indians and the Chicago White Sox on another brisk, breezy day here at U.S. Cellular Field. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. Today is the rubber match of the series, and we have a tremendous pitching matchup. Corey Kluber will go for Cleveland, and Rick, a year ago, Kluber averaged more than 9 strikeouts per 9 innings against this White Sox team.
Well, Corey has been his typical self every start this year. It's just he has not had any run support. He goes out there, as a matter of fact, his last 8 starts, 2 runs or less, and over 6 innings. So he has been out there. In his last start against the Minnesota Twins, 8 innings. 2 earned runs, could not get the win. He will be matched up against another tough right-hander, Jeff Samardzija, who matched up against David Price in his last outing in Detroit, and they matched up. He went 8 innings, and nobody got the win in that start, but he was very good. He's got an explosive fastball, a slider, and a splitter, and he will elevate the fastball, so you may have to lay off that pitch. He will be making his very first start against the Cleveland Indians.
Samardzija's also a strike thrower. He's faced 61 consecutive batters without issuing a walk. That's the longest streak currently in the American League. Well, for the Indians, the bullpen's gotten a lot better. Brian Shaw has faced 2 batters in 2 appearances in this series, and he has struck them both out. Andre Knott checks out the resurgence of Brian Shaw when we come back. Cleveland Indians baseball is brought to you by WB Mason, the official office supplier of the Cleveland Indians. By McDonald's, I'm loving it. By your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And by the injury lawyers at Elk & Elk, proud sponsors of the Cleveland Indians. Call 1-800-ELK, Ohio. Tribe and the White Sox. Indians trying to win this series before they move on to Detroit for the weekend showdown with the Tigers. Let's go downstairs to Andre Knott. Andre, Brian Shaw, Indians right-handed reliever, coming into this series. Right-handed batters were 7 for 12 against him with a home run, but he struck out Garcia in game 1, struck out Abreu last night. What have they done to get him turned around?
Matt, they've worked on his stride when they've been out in the bullpen and working with him. And I know in spring training they were working on a two-seamer with him because a lot of these batters in American League Central become comfortable with him. So he's looked for that second pitch. But the stride has been the main thing. And maybe one of the biggest developments out of this series when we all get set, when it's all said and done, may be the 2 big strikeouts from Shaw in the 8th inning. Because if the Indians' bullpen is going to be as strong as it's been the last 2 years, they're going to need Brian Shaw, who pitched over 150 innings the last 2 years for the Cleveland Indians.
Well, when you look at the breaking ball going down, the tilt to it, and that's another pitch on the inside part of the plate that Shaw has to use, because everything, he throws the cutter, he throws a slider going away. He needs to run that 4-seamer inside to the right-handed hitters to keep him honest. And you know what? I think he'll be just fine.
Well, it's a great matchup here this afternoon. Kluber and Samardzija going toe-to-toe with the series win at stake. We'll have the play-by-play, starting lineups, all that stuff coming up next. Did he get all of this one? You bet he did. Kipnis goes to Ramirez for 1, back to first, double play. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. And Ryan Rayburn delivers off the bench. The Indians win it, and they even the series at a game apiece. All right, we're ready for action here at U.S. Cellular Field in Chicago. White Sox have taken the field behind Jeff Samardzija. Here's the starting lineup for Cleveland under Tribe skipper Terry Francona, brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Leading it off will be Michael Bourne, then Jason Kipnis. Michael Brantley will DH today. Then it's Carlos Santana, Brandon Moss, and David Murphy. Chisenhall, Perez, and Ramirez, 8 left-handed bats, excuse me, in the lineup against the righty Samardzija.
All right, Northern Ohio Honda dealer starting pitcher for the White Sox, Jeff Samardzija, who's 30 years old. He is a big guy, 6'5", 225 pounds, making his very first start against the Indians this year. So the Indians will get a look at a good fastball, a slider, and a splitter. Let's check out the defense, brought to you by Chrysler. It'll be Cabrera in left, Eaton in center, Garcia in right, Gillespie at third, Ramirez at short, Johnson is at second, Abreu at first, Soto doing the catching.
Dan Bellino has the plate today. Lance Barksdale at first, Quinn Walcott at second, crew chief Eric Cooper down at third. Michael Bourne steps in. He's really the only hitter in the Indians lineup with any kind of history against Jeff Samardzija. He has 10 career at bats, and he's gone 5 for 10 with a pair of doubles. Upstairs, 1 ball, 1 strike. Samardzija came up with the Cubs and then dealt to Oakland a year ago. Upstairs and away.
Samardzija, a guy that's not afraid to pitch inside. He will elevate the fastball when you get to 2 strikes.
Bourne with a chopper fair right at the bag, and Abreu has an easy play. Our window systems game time temperature today is 43 degrees under cloudy skies. Still a bit breezy. As you'll see, the wind will gust up to 20-25 miles an hour today. Not exactly ideal baseball conditions. Here's Jason Kipnis, and he takes a called strike.
Yeah, tough conditions. You would think the pitchers have the edge here, and both these pitchers have been pitching well, and both have received not a lot of run support. Samardzija has received 6 runs. Corey Kluber has received 5.
Out of play to the left. No balls, 2 strikes on Kipnis, who's 1 for 8 in the series with 1 run batted in. And he waves at it. 2 down. Here are the keys to the game, brought to you by Wayside Furniture. Run support for Kluber. Rick jumped the gun on us.
Sorry, guys.
Samardzija with fastball command. You got to make Samardzija get in the strike zone. Don't get overly aggressive and chase. But as I pointed out, Rick, maybe he's effectively wild at times because he's only walked 1 in the last 63 batters, or he hasn't walked anybody in the last 63 batters that he's faced.
How about that? You're right. Well, that's pitching on the inner part of the plate, using all 17 inches, backing off hitters. But you've got the 1 right-hander in the lineup. That's it. The rest all lefties. And it's the first time he's faced the Indians, so it may take one time around to get a look at what he has to offer. He's coming off a terrific start in Detroit where he pitched 8 innings. He was matched up against David Price and matched him pitch for pitch. No decision.
Off the plate. Good eye by Brantley. Yeah, Samardzija struck out 7, didn't walk a batter his last time out. Against the Twins, struck out 6, didn't walk a batter. He hasn't walked anybody since he issued 3 walks to Kansas City in his first start of the year. And I believe that was opening day.
It was, and it was the 3rd inning was his last walk of that game.
Down at the feet of Brantley.
Well, Brantley now with a 3-1 count. Let's see how he goes about it. If he challenges you, comes right at you with a fastball. These are the things you look for if you're a left-handed batter on the bench. What he does in 3-1 counts.
Went at him with a fastball, and it's fouled out of play. Michael, 3 hits and 8 trips to the plate in the series with a double and a couple of runs driven in. Popped him up. Shallow left. Out goes Ramirez, the shortstop, calling for it and makes the catch. The Indians go 1-2-3. The White Sox aren't coming to bat. Sox is presented by Toyota. Adam Eaton will lead it off. The switch hitting Melky Cabrera bats second, and Jose Abreu, who's been swinging the bat well, will hit third. Adam LaRoche cleanup. Aviciel Garcia fifth. Connor Gillespie sixth. Alexei Ramirez seventh. Giovanni Soto gets the start behind the plate, batting eighth, and Micah Johnson will hit ninth.
Our Northern Ohio Honda dealer starting pitcher Corey Kluber this afternoon. Kluber looking for his first win. He's pitched very well in his first 3 starts. This will be his 3rd start on the road. 4-2 in his career against the Chicago White Sox.
Adam Eaton takes a strike. Eaton 3 out of 7 so far in the series. Up and away with a fastball. Eaton just 2 for his last 25 overall.
And that one hit yesterday was a nice bunt down the third baseline. Set up runners at first and second before Carrasco got a double play ball back in the 3rd inning yesterday.
And it's fouled right back to even it up at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Both teams come in 5 wins, 8 losses. They split the series back in Cleveland. The 2 games they played, they've split the first 2 here. Strike 3 called. Eaton is out number 1 to start the game for Kluber.
Let's take a look at this pitch on our Nissan pitch tracker. There's the fastball that comes back up on the left-handers with his cutter. They know he throws so well in that breaking ball bearing in. That one comes back over the plate, and it ended up being right down the middle, and it locked him up.
Here is Melky Cabrera. Outside, ball 1. Cabrera, bit of a slow start, but starting to heat up. He's hit in 4 straight games. up high 2-0. And in his career, Melky Cabrera has been a much better hitter from this side of the plate. Career .291 average against right-handed pitching versus a .274 mark when he switches around to the other side of the plate. Kluber's behind him 3-0 here. And he finds the strike zone with a fastball down at the knees. Wow, look at that. Just 0-59 from the other side of the plate.
Well, that's where you want to face him, I guess, when it comes down to it. Right now, anyway.
Good pitch.
Taken all the way.
And even if he's looking middle in, that wasn't a pitch he wanted to get after. Now the payoff from Corey Kluber. Now that one off.
That came with a 3-2 cutter inside, and he hit it hard, but that's about the only thing you're going to do with it because it looked like it was in off the plate. He rifled that one into the seats, and as it has been all series long, these fans, you better watch out. Get out of the way and pick it up when it stops rolling.
22 innings of work on the year for Kluber. 26 Ks, only 4 walks, make it 27 strikeouts. Came back from 3-0 to strike out Melky Cabrera 2 down.
Take a look at the defense brought to you by Chrysler for the Indians this afternoon. Murphy gets the start in left field today. Bourne is in center, Moss over in right. Chisenhall and Ramirez on the left side of the infield. Kipnis and Santana on the right. Perez behind the plate.
Jose Abreu with 2 down here in the first. Abreu 3 out of 8 with a home run in the series. Hits that one pretty well. Deep right field. Back goes Moss on the track. He's looking up. It's gone. Jose Abreu, for the second game in a row, hits a 2-out first inning solo home run, and the White Sox take the early lead.
Well, this guy is a very good breaking ball hitter, and especially if you spin one up there. He got Carrasco on a slider. That's the cutter, I think. I don't think that was the slider. I think that was more of a cutter. It was on a flat plane, and he stayed inside the baseball and gives it a ride to right center field. 8 career home runs now against the Indians, and back-to-back days. First inning, he gives the White Sox a 1-0 lead.
Here's Adam LaRoche. Bangs it right back up the middle, and that's through. That's the first hit in the series for LaRoche. And the 2-out single keeps the inning alive.
Yeah, right back up the middle, and you know, you get aggressive and get after Kluber early. LaRoche does. Back-to-back hits now.
Well, he came in just 1 for his last 12 with 6 strikeouts over his previous 3 games. Avisail Garcia. Kluber, a fastball inside corner for strike 1.
Corey in his last start had a perfect game through 5 in Minnesota before that weird 6th inning happened. If you remember, he had a couple of wild pitches. There were some fielders' choices and just a weird inning. They ended up getting 2, and that was it in that game.
Swung on and missed. Garcia waved at it. He's in the hole 0-2. Garcia failed to reach base last night. That's the first time that that's happened to him this year. But Jose Abreu sitting in the back there as the Sox in front on the solo homer here in the first. Kluber's 2-strike pitch. A little bit low and away.
Yes, he
Checked
did.
the swing. He went around, and the inning is over. Kluber strikes out 3 in the first, but Jose Abreu gets one up and out. And Chicago leads 1-0 after an inning. Run as Chicago up 1-0. Abreu has hit 5 now on the year. For Cleveland in the second, Carlos Santana, Brandon Moss, and David Murphy. And last night it was Santana who came right back and homered for the Indians to tie the game up.
Tried to do it again today.
Yeah, didn't he?
He got on top of a high fastball yesterday and drove it out of here. He may get another high fastball in this at bat.
Rounds it right into the teeth of the shift. That's the second baseman, Micah Johnson. They had the third baseman Gillespie over in the hole, and he's going to stay there for Brandon Moss.
Yeah, the same defense for both Santana and Moss. And it's very similar. It seems like every team does that. Both guys like to pull the ball.
Moss 0 for 3 with a walk in the series. Swing and a miss. Smart has got good fastball movement. That, I don't know if that's just a two-seamer that goes down. It just seems to dart away at the last moment. Moss fouling that out of play, and it's 0-2. Ran the fastball upstairs. Moss not biting. Now the right-hander wheels and deals, and Moss takes in off the plate. Evens the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes. You see the shift on for Moss. Outfield straight up and deep.
Well, that's amazing. The pitch before, he had that cutter going inside, and then that fastball runs away like a 2-seamer. Had pretty good movement going away.
Off-speed pitch, and Moss lays off.
Good
full
take.
count.
That's the slider right there, the one that goes straight down. That was a pretty good pitch, and Moss didn't bite at.
David Murphy waits on deck with 1 out here in the 2nd. And the payoff pitch is inside, ball 4.
That ends a string of what, 66 is it?
'61, yeah, so 65 is where it ended up. Our Levin player profile on pitcher Jeff Samardzija, 5th-round pick of the Cubs. He was a tremendous football player at Notre Dame, All-American in 2006. He also caught a school record touchdown pass in each of the first 8 games of the season that year.
This is a pitcher you could say is a good athlete then, huh?
No question about it. I mean, there aren't a lot of guys that achieve that kind of status. There are plenty of guys who played football in college. Mark DeRosa, for example, who played with the Tribe. He was a quarterback at Penn. Darren Erstad was a punter at Nebraska. But not many guys were All-Americans in football.
Yeah.
And then had success in the major leagues in baseball. One guy that comes to mind was Kirk Gibson, who, like Samardzija, was an All-American wide receiver. He was, of course, a member of Michigan State's football team back in the late 1970s. Then you got a guy like Bo Jackson, who won the Heisman and then came here at the end of his career to play for the White Sox.
He still comes to camp with the White Sox in spring training.
David Murphy trying to get rolling for the Tribe here. He homered in the game last night. The 1-1. Another guy that's more your era, Arch, Dave Winfield. And I didn't realize he was actually drafted by 3 teams professionally.
NBA, NFL, right,
and baseball.
Right. He was a tremendous athlete and a big guy too.
White Sox had Josh Fields a few years ago. You remember, a third baseman. He was a quarterback at Oklahoma State. And then there's big Tim Stoddard, who didn't play football, but he was a basketball player who you faced.
North Carolina State.
Played on their national championship team in the 70s.
Bigfoot.
Two-1. Murphy pops it foul out of play. You got your only career walk-off off Tim Stoddard, right?
I never found that out until today. A guy from Baseball Digest came up and was asking a couple of questions, and he asked that, and I had no clue, to be honest with you.
They didn't call them walk-offs back then.
No, it's just a game-winning hit.
You got the old attaboy. Nice job.
Yeah, way to go.
Murphy shoots it foul third base side. Get you watching a free cheeseburger.
Yeah, no, but yeah, in Milwaukee, right? A cheeseburger and a beer.
Murphy with a 2-ball 2-strike count. Moss at first base. 1 out in the inning. Popped up, foul, back out of play. Put up a good
cutter,
AB.
Yeah,
here.
get that cutter off his hands.
Abreu holding Moss at first. And that pitch just missed a full count. 3-2. See how aggressive.
That's what I want to say. You know what?
Here.
Go ahead. Let's go for it. Early in the game, you got to try and get something going. Figure Murph will put it in play. There you go. He started him.
He did start him, and it's fouled off again by David Murphy.
Well, you know, you can't sit back. The worst that can happen is to strike him out, throw him out double play. That's the absolute worst, and then you'll have Chisenhall leading off next inning. But try and get a hole. It's early in the game. Try and first and third him if Murphy can get the ball on the ground and find a hole.
Runner goes, and Murphy lines one to the gap in right center field. That's going to get down just by Eaton. Coming around third, they're going to wave Moss home. Now the late stop sign comes up.
And
he goes back to the bag.
He let up going between second and third. I think if he kept his head down, you remember Sarbaugh was very aggressive with Mike Aviles in game one, sending the runner. And right here, he's off and running. So, you know, he can't go back. Your head's down. Just keep right on running. It's a nice attempt there by Eaton. It gets by him. And let's see. All of a sudden, well, no, I thought he slowed down. He didn't really slow down. I take that back.
It looked like, if anything, Rick, his footwork going into second got a little choppy.
It may be because he was looking to see where that ball was hit. I thought he slowed down. He didn't. Murphy did a nice job putting it in play. He gets a base hit, but the end result is it's first and third and one out and a chance to tie the game up now.
Well, Lonnie Chisenhall, the batter, trying to get his first hit in the series, and he's straightened up with a Samardzija fastball. Lonnie trying to snap an 0 for 8. Takes outside, 2-0. So an opportunity for the Tribe thanks to the aggressiveness of Terry Francona, who started the runner and got Moss into third on the hit by David Murphy, who had a terrific at bat.
Well, Lonnie had a 2-0 pitch to hit. He swings through it. He's still sitting with the count in his favor. There you go. Runner on third, less than 2 out. Lonnie's perfect 3 for 3.
Infield, middle infielders, especially double play depth. Soto might have a better arm than Tyler Flowers behind the plate, so curious to see if the Indians test him at all today. Pops him up. That's headed toward the seats. Gillespie over, makes the catch, and Moss has to hold at third base.
That ball ended up coming back. It looked like it was going to be in the seats and over the tarp. But right at the end, you watch how Gillespie has to go after this ball. He comes back to the playing field. Welcome to Chicago with the win. Blows it back in. They get the second out. Now it's going to take a 2-out base hit.
Now Roberto Perez will be the batter. And it's outside, ball 1.
Samardzija got out a couple of jams in his last start against the Tigers early on a couple of nice plays made behind him, but he pitched his way through it and then retired 10 out of the last 11 batters in that ball game. No, he's trying to pitch his way out of this inning. First and third and 1 out.
Called a strike. I don't know, maybe a little generous. 1-1.
Check it out. He's sitting dead middle. Maybe the way that Soto went to catch that ball, he was sitting more to the outer part of the plate, and he comes back inside. Not that bad of a pitch.
Way outside, 2-1.
Well, Perez has himself in a fastball count. Will he see one? He does, but boy, it's on the black outside corner. Perfect pitch.
Well, he went inside outside on the 2 strikes to Perez. He checked this pitch out. He's sitting in the same spot, and it's right on the outside edge. Good pitch. See if he uses that slider to get him to chase on this one. Start it right where that pitch was and break it off the plate.
Perez lines one to right. Garcia makes the catch. Indians threaten. They do not score. They strand a pair. And after 2, or in the middle of the second, 1-0 Chicago. Corey Kluber in his last 8 starts, 5-1 with a 160 earned run average. What's really impressive with Kluber is that, going back to last year, he has made 8 consecutive starts where he has allowed 2 runs or less, going 6 innings or more.
He's Mr. Consistent. He's the same every time he goes out there. Not much changes.
Since 1914, there are only 3 pitchers who have a longer streak than the one Corey Kluber is on. Sam McDowell went 9 straight in 1965. Bob Lemon 10 in a row in 1956. And Gaylord Perry, who did it 11 consecutive times in 1974. So that is the earmark of consistency. Give your team 6 innings, give up 2 runs or less. I mean, you're in the ball game. You've got a chance every time.
Well, and you know it. When he goes out there, you just expect to win the game.
Squibb toward third, where Chisenhall throws him out. 1 down. Here are all the guys on that list who've gone at least 8 consecutive games, putting up 6 innings, allowing 2 or less. CC Sabathia,
the knuckleballer Tom Candiotti.
He like Kluber carried it over from one season to the next. But Jim Bagby, you're going back to 1917.
Yeah, I mean, just the names there, it's impressive. We see a lot of those names when you're talking about Corey Kluber and things he's done in his young career.
Alexei Ramirez drilled left field. Look out. A long run for Murphy. He'll dig it out, and on his way to second with a 1-out double is Ramirez, his 5th 2-bagger of the year.
Well, that's the approach I would take if you're a hitter You look for the first fastball you get and get on it and hope you hit it. And I'll tell you, Ramirez smoked this ball. Fastball middle in, and he was ready for it, opened it up, and hit it to left field. His 5th double of the year, so it's a 1-out double.
Up is Giovanni Soto. Swing and a miss. Andre and I were walking in today, and he was remarking about Alexei Ramirez. He's truly, Rick, one of those guys that you don't get a full appreciation for his ability, his talents, until you watch him play in person.
Well, we've watched him play for years, and I'll tell you what, I've always been impressed with him. You know, he's a clutch hitter with the game on the line. He plays shortstop every day. He is in that lineup, and he's one of those guys that moves up and down the lineup for the manager here, and has been over the years. He's a very good everyday player. And I say every day because he's out there every day. Not a very big guy.
Soto, swing and a miss. It's a ball and 2 strikes. Rick, you talk about consistency. Alexei Ramirez, the last 4 years, has played 158 games every single season.
He's there every single day. And that's at the toughest position, I think, to play on the field at shortstop.
Sure. You're in the middle of everything.
Yes, yes, you are.
The 1-2 to Soto. Lays off, and it evens the count.
You know, and he's got to help out over there because Gillespie, who's been playing third the last couple of years, is not a defensive specialist by any means, so you have to help him along on that side of the infield.
Listed at 180 pounds.
Oh, man. That's with sandbags in his back pocket on a windy day here at the Cell.
The 2-2. Swing and a miss. Corey Kluber ties him up with a great fastball. His 4th strikeout on the afternoon.
Nice sequence.
2 down.
This will be our Circle K strikeout this afternoon. He ties him up with a fastball inside. Had him looking away, started him off cutter, and finishes him off with a 2-seamer inside with some run off the plate. So he gets out number 2. It'll be up to Johnson now to try and get that runner home.
Micah Johnson, a youngster, takes inside ball 1. He's picked up a hit in 4 straight games. And Kluber evens the count at 1-1. Micah Johnson was a 9th-round pick of the Sox back in 2009. Born in Indianapolis. Played at Indiana University. Second team All Big Ten in 2011.
They say this young man's a tough, hard-nosed player, and they expect big things from him.
Chopper towards second base. Big hop for Kipnis. And he'll throw him out. No runs ahead, a man left. Through 2, Chicago 1, Cleveland nothing. Indians down 1-0 on a solo homer by Jose Abreu in the first. Jose Ramirez leads off the third for Cleveland, 0 for 7 in the series. Just up high with it. Caught the outside corner barely. And Ramirez falls behind 1-2. Right back up the middle, but what a perfect carom toward Ramirez, who was shading him up the middle. And that is out number 1.
Live Indians baseball is back in 2015 with the MLB.com at-bat on your smartphone or tablet. You can stay connected with live radio broadcast, stats, breaking news, and more. Download MLB.com at-bat, the #1 app for live baseball.
Michael Bourne shows bunt, pulls it back. And a strike is called. Bourne bounced to first base his first time up. And a smash wide of Abreu into right field. And Michael Bourne has his first hit in the series and his 6th career hit in 12 at-bats against Jeff Samardzija.
Well, he topped to pitch his first at-bat and it bounced it right to Abreu. This one, he found the hole.
Arch, the Cavaliers travel to Boston for Game 3 of the playoffs tomorrow night. Cavaliers Live tips off coverage at 6:30. Allie, Fred, and AC have the action at 7. We're all in with the Cavs on Fox Sports Ohio.
Little off day tomorrow. I'll get a chance to watch that game.
Yeah. Jason Kipnis struck out his first time up. Little bit outside. 1-0 the count. Broke his bat, lines it just beyond Ramirez's reach. And Michael Bourne will stop at second as the Indians have back-to-back hits here in the third.
Boy, he had a beat on it. It was hit off the end. It sounded like it cracked the bat, but it was just out of the reach of Ramirez. A nice attempt, but Kip will get a base hit right there. It'll be first and second now with 1 out, getting into the middle part of the lineup.
Now Michael Brantley is in the DH spot today for the Tribe. He steps in now with 2 on, 1 out. Let's go down to Andre Knott, who has more on Brantley's spot in the lineup.
They're just managing his back as best they can, is why he's DHing today. Tito Francona basically said, he goes, look, this weather's not good for anybody, but especially someone dealing with a back injury. They feel like he's okay, just want to manage his back best they can.
Well, he's obviously an important bat in this lineup.
This weather isn't good with a normal body, let alone if you have any aches and pains. This weather brings it out in you.
Brantley checks, it's down low. 2 balls, no strikes. tying run in scoring position in Michael Bourne. Kipnis at first. If you ever wonder, let's put it this way, if you just walked into this ballpark and hadn't watched a game and you knew anything about the shift, the defensive alignment that they put up for Michael Brantley tells you all you need to know about him as a hitter.
Yeah.
He can hit it anywhere, which is why they play him straight up.
Yeah, that's right. And it's basically every team like that.
Lifted to left, but pretty routine for Melky Cabrera. And the runners have to hold 2 down. Well, that's going to leave it up to Carlos Santana, who grounded out to second base his first time up.
Getting that defense set this time, because usually they have 3 on the right side. Now Ramirez at second base is just going to stay behind Bourne. He's not going to get on the right side.
Well, you think about where Santana grounded the ball to his last time up, it was where the hole is now. And you see Micah Johnson and Ramirez, they're pointing and talking to each other probably about that very fact. Inside corner, a called strike, and Santana is in the hole 0-2.
That's a changeup right there. Pulls a string.
Downstairs with it, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Right back to the screen. Santana had a rip. I don't know if that was the changeup again or if that was a breaking ball.
Looked like a breaking ball here. He left upstairs. Boy, he had a pitch to hit right there down the middle and fouled it off.
Samardzija deals. Santana takes a fastball up high. And he's worked the count back to 2-2.
He usually does. This guy goes down in the count a lot of times and works his way right back into it. Wouldn't be surprised to see another full count.
2 on, 2 out, 2-2 pitch. Nice backhanded stab by Soto. Otherwise, 2 runners would have moved up on that.
Well, they'll be off and running now with 2 outs. So see if he can find some grass out in that outfield somewhere. Good speed on the bases. Bourne and Kipnis off and running on the pitch.
Samardzija's payoff pitch. Ball 4, and the bases are loaded.
How's that at bat?
From 0-2 to a walk for Santana.
Second walk of the afternoon for Samardzija. Now, that was a really good at bat because he was trying to prey on that aggressiveness, and Santana just spit on that breaking ball. So now they're loaded.
Now, when he faced Moss first time up, he made some really good pitches, but he was also very careful, and he ended up walking him. Pops the first pitch back out of play. Hits are even at 3 apiece. But the Sox lead it on a solo home run by Jose Abreu in the first inning. Cross takes, and that is a called strike.
Boy, comes right back and jumps up in front of the count. 0-2 again.
Career .273 hitter when the bases loaded. His first crack as an Indian. Inside. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And Samardzija already, as you see there, this will be 65th pitch of the day. Pop to left. He's going to get out of it. Cabrera makes the catch. Indians leave him loaded. And we'll go to the bottom of the third. 1-0 Chicago. Later in the game for Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Bottom of the third here in Chicago, and the top of the order due for the White Sox. Adam Eaton, Melky Cabrera, and Jose Abreu. Corey Kluber has allowed 1 run on 3 hits. The solo homer by Abreu in the first. It's been the game's only run thus far. Inside, ball 1. Eaton out of Springfield, Ohio. Played at Miami University.
Springfield, huh? Where isn't that Dave Burba?
Down in that neck of the woods. Yeah,
Sure.
Burba went to Kenton Ridge High School. Not sure which high school that Eaton went to. I don't know if it was the same school or not. I'd have to look this one up. It says in the media guide that he went to Kenton Wright High School. I'm assuming they meant Kenton Ridge. Which is where
Hey, see that? You're finding a mistake here in their media guide.
No, maybe there is a Kenton Wright. I just don't know.
Kenton Wright, Kenton Ridge.
Kenton wrong.
You will track it down, I know.
Oh, yeah. I'm on it. The 1-2. Eaton fouling it back. there is no Kenton Wright. I'll have to get Bob Beckel over here.
You're good. 60 minutes.
Upstairs. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Yeah, Eaton was originally drafted by Arizona in the 19th round of the 2010 draft. Came to the White Sox in the Hector Santiago trade. He's worked the count full against Kluber, starting this home half of the 3rd inning. Hits it pretty well to deep left center field, and it's going to hit the Warren Hoppel wall, and he's into second base with a double.
It's their 4th hit and their 3rd extra base hit. Ramirez had a 1-out double last inning, and now Eaton with the leadoff double here in the 3rd. But he had a pitch, and Kluber wasn't going to walk him, and he stayed on it and drove it to left center field. It short hops the wall. Bourne gets it in quickly, holds Eaton there, his 3rd double of the year. So the leadoff double.
And it brings up Melky Cabrera, who struck out his first time up. Trying to bunt him over to 3rd. He'll get it done. Kluber will take it and throw. No, what are they saying?
No, they said it hit him in the box.
Okay.
I thought that ball seemed dead. Well, he got in the back of this.
Did the throw hit Cabrera?
Yeah, it did. Kluber, yes, came sidearm and hit Cabrera in the back of the head. But boy, that ball sounded dead when he laid it down. If you watch when he squares around to bunt, watch it come back up and hit him, I believe, while he was in the box. See it? It hit it twice on the bat. And then Kluber's going to throw it to first, and he's looking at it, and he sees the umpires call timeout, and then boom, clank.
Yeah, that was one of those ones where I don't think Kluber ever heard time called, and it wasn't real emphatic if it was.
Well, did you see Perez pointing to first base saying, go to first, go to first? So you don't, if you don't hear it, you just got to assume the play's fair ball. You got to get the out. But watch where it gets him, right in the back of the helmet.
See the umpire's there. He's still calling foul ball, so it was sort of a late halt to the action, if you will. Well, Melky Cabrera's ready to go. Indians aren't convinced he'll try to bunt again.
He won't after that one.
Yeah, he just lines it in the left. Eaton's going to stop at 3rd. And the White Sox have runners at the corners with nobody out now here in inning number 3.
Well, he did not try to bunt again. He just stayed on a baseball and drove it to left field. Looked like he got a pitch away. And base hit, so he gets the job done. He gets Adam Eaton over to 3rd base. So it's 1st and 3rd now, and you've got the big man up. Already 5 hits for the Sox.
Yeah, Jose Abreu homered in the 1st, and he's up again now. Inside ball 1. He got a cut fastball. It was over the outside part of the plate. He slammed it out the other way. 8th career homer already against the Indians. Squibbed foul. He's checking the end of his bat because that's where he hit it. Looks like he might have one of the bats that has a cupped end on it, so he's checking to make sure it didn't chip.
Well, that cutter he hit the first time up, he started him off with that fastball here with runners on first and third, and we witnessed him the first time he faced Carrasco. He served it to right field, pushed it that way. This guy, I mean, he makes adjustments. There's no one way to get him out. He's a very good hitter.
To third, Chisnall goes to second. There's one. Kipnis on to first. Double play.
All right, that's what you were looking for.
White Sox get a run. They make it 2-0. But with Abreu at the plate, that's a victory for Kluber, because he can do a lot of damage, as we've already seen.
Yeah, you get the double play, you clear the bases, they get the run home.
Next up is Adam LaRoche with the bases empty now. LaRoche sent a single back up the middle his first time up. Downstairs with it, 2-0. LaRoche's father, Dave, played with the Indians. We talked about that before. Rick's teammate. He was an all-star in 1976 for the Tribe. He also coached here in Chicago with the White Sox from '89 through '91. 3 balls and a strike.
That must have been when Jeff Torborg was the manager here, I'm guessing. Torborg was the bullpen coach back in those years when Frank Robinson was the manager.
There's a ball driven but fouled on the right side.
That's the one thing that LaRoche can do. Boy, you make a mistake inside, he can hit a long way, and he can hit it hard. It's interesting to see this guy in the summertime in this ballpark where the ball really carries well.
He works it for a walk. A rare free pass issued by Kluber. It's only the 5th walk he's allowed this year. Our great clip of the game from yesterday, Carlos Carrasco. He only went 5 innings, but he was dazzling.
Yeah, what a great changeup, explosive fastball. You know, that layoff certainly didn't hurt him. He was looking forward to getting back out there and getting another start. He said he had a little concern when Cabrera came up to the plate, but he got past that in a hurry.
Well, we had some concern as to whether or not everything was okay when he came out of the game after only 60 pitches last night, but Andre checked with him today, and he says he had a little tightness, but other than that, they okay. Connor Gillespie bounced out to third. His only time up. Swings and pops it to center. Michael Bourne calls for it. Makes the catch. Inning over. 1 run on 3 hits, 2 men left. Chicago up 2-0 through 3. Lead the Indians. Check out the T-Mobile Game Changer. Indian starters in a game after a loss. Unfortunately, already 8 of those. 4-1, 332 earned run average, and they've gone 6 innings or more 5 out of the 8 times. David Murphy looks at a strike. He singled his only time up in the second. Indians have had opportunities. They had 2 on, 1 out in the second. They had 2 on, 1 out in the third, but they have not been able to get them home. Get the big hit when they've needed it.
Yeah, well, they've made Samardzija throw a lot of pitches. He's approaching 70 top half of the 4th.
Tribe 0 for 4 so far with runners in scoring position.
That's been the problem this whole year. You talk about hitting with runners on base, and in scoring position has been an issue.
Murphy had a really good at bat his first time up. That was when Moss was at first. Count got to 3-2, and Terry Francona started the runner, and Murphy gapped one to right center. Popped up foul, and this will get out of play. Right back to Samardzija, who grabbed it with the bare hand or deflected it. And Murphy's safe at first.
Not a good idea, but that's just reactions there. Competitive. He put the bare hand up there, and we heard it smack it. He seems to be okay. Murph gets another base hit. It was a good pitch away, and he puts the bare hand up, and it ricochets off the backside of the mound. By the time he could get it over to first base, Murph beats it out. So he is now 2 for 2 today. They're going to give him an extra second. Get some feeling into that hand, you would think. Been a cool, chilly series here in Chicago. I think we're lucky this is a day game today, huh? Because it's only going to get colder tonight.
Yeah, I think that tomorrow, if we were to play this game, it would be about, maybe you'd be lucky if it was 40 degrees at game time. Our stage manager Joe, though, pointing out that today's game time temperature colder than the 2 night games.
No kidding.
It was 46 the previous 2 nights, 43 at game time today. Can't get anything past Joe.
No, Joe's ready. He was up at 6 today doing something.
0-1 pitch. Lonnie pops it up. Maybe playable here. Abreu racing to the Tribe dugout. Hits the railing, but he was out of room. Well, he went full tilt.
Yeah, he comes in. He tried to stop, I think, and what happened? He slipped on the track. Watch the feet slide out. That right foot skips and goes right into that fence. That's a big man. That's stopping a lot of body there in a short period of time.
Down in front. Down in front.
James Quinlan would have had a tough time keeping him out of the dugout if he came over that railing.
Right.
James given about 100 pounds in that battle.
Yeah, you could see his hand. He's checking it out. That must have hit that chain link fence.
It's always a physical game when you play the White Sox. Now the 1-2 to Chisenhall. Speaking of physical, there might be a few bleary-eyed Blackhawks fans this morning. They were up till about 1:30 in the morning. Triple overtime until that guy right there, Brent Seabrook, scored the winning goal in the 3rd overtime period.
And he's out to watch the game today, man.
Absolutely.
He didn't get much slate.
Absolutely. There's a fly ball to center field. Adam Eaton will make the catch. Here's our AT&T U-verse rewind. This was the play where the Indians started the runner, and Murphy gapped one. And the Indians had 1st and 3rd with 1 out in the 2nd inning. Golden opportunity to tie the game, but Chisenhall fouls out. And Roberto Perez scorched one, but right at Garcia to end the inning. And that's been the story so far for the Tribe, as they trail it now 2-0. Samardzija has only struck out 1. And he's made a lot of pitches.
Well, he walked 2, and he went a streak of 65 consecutive batters before he issued a walk. But it was to Brandon Moss back in the 2nd, and then he also walked Santana in the 3rd.
Well, if you thought maybe there would be some ill effects from the ball that he tried to knock down with a bare hand, it hasn't shown up so far. He seems to be just fine from that. Perez fouls it back over the screen. Got his fastball, but couldn't do anything with it. And no balls, 2 strikes. Now the 0-2. Another foul. As Perez You know, the funny thing, Rick, Samardzija seems to be okay on the comebacker that he tried to bare hand. The same does not appear to be true for Jose Abreu. It looked like
he cut himself on that fence.
Yeah, you can see the cut above his thumb. A little bit low. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Now Perez just trying to spoil him one to stay alive.
That's
here.
a good pitch to foul off just to stay alive. Pretty good slider. There's only a half a swing, but he gets a piece. Live for another pitch.
Swing and a miss. Second strikeout of the day for Samardzija. 2 down here in the 4th.
This one, it looked like he put a little more tilt to it and slowed it down a hair and got the swing and the miss. Good pitch. Second out of the inning.
And we'll bring up Jose Ramirez, who grounded out his only time up. Jose is just in a slump. 0 for 13. 3 for his last 21.
No, the Indians had 5 guys starting that lineup today that are under 200. So the averages, boy, you don't want to look at those. You just got to, as we mentioned, they had opportunities today. They haven't been able to take advantage of them, at least to this point.
Downstairs. 2-0. Well, it may be a small victory, but they are making Samardzija work hard for it. And Ramirez, a liner to center field, base hit. That'll snap that over. And once again, for the 3rd straight inning, the Indians have 2 base runners aboard against Samardzija.
Well, he hit this ball on nose. He had a great pitch to hit to a fastball. He just challenged him right there, and Ramirez lined it right back up the middle. He won the challenge. Gets that base hit, although it's a 2-out base hit, so it's 1st and 2nd now. It'll give Michael Bourne a chance.
Bourne singled through the right side of the infield his last time up.
Yeah, 5 singles for the Indians today.
Lays off a low pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. And Samardzija misses low. 2-1. Big swing, but he came up empty, and we're back to even at 2-2.
He took him. He didn't throw him a fastball. Took something off of it, and Bourne pulled off of this pitch. Might have helped him out there.
2 on, 2 out, 2-2 pitch. And Michael got a piece of that and his foot.
Ooh, that can't feel good today. It's about the last thing you want to do as a hitter is foul one off your body today. Looks like it goes off his foot. It's another breaking ball.
Right off the top of the ankle, the shin bone. David Murphy is at second base. Jose Ramirez at first. So great speed on the bags. The 2-2. And Bourne shoots it foul in the Sox dugout. Again, the 2-2. Bourne with a liner caught by Abreu. And the inning is over. No runs, 2 hits, 2 more left. Middle of the 4th, 2-0 Chicago. (2-0) Chicago as we go to the bottom of the 4th here at U.S. Cellular Field. Hey, you've probably heard about the Mount Rushmore. They're doing this in a lot of different things. Well, that's what we're looking for. The Indians franchise 4, and so far, thanks to your votes out there, Bob Feller, Jim Thome, Omar Vizquel, and Larry Dobry are the leading vote getters. The other candidates that are on the ballot: Errol Averill, Lou Boudreau, Nap Lajoie, and Tris Speaker. You can continue to vote at MLB.com up until May 8th. Alexei Ramirez going to lead it off for Chicago.
Well, he hit the first fastball that Kluber threw back in the 2nd inning for a double. And right there, he comes back with a nice little breaking ball for strike 1.
Another off-speed pitch. Might have been a cutter, but it's 0-2.
Watch Ramirez's front foot. He's going to open up because that's what he did that first time. But you may not see that pitch again, Alexei.
It's going to find the seats down the right side. Almost chased after it, but held up. And it's a ball and 2 strikes. As Kluber winds and deals, strikes him out. 5th K for Kluber. 1 down here in the 4th. I wonder if Alexei Ramirez is suffering the same sort of mental block that impeded Carlos Santana. He's sitting on 99 career home runs in the major leagues.
Oh, yeah? Well, you know, you don't look at him as a home run hitter.
No,
he can hit them.
Yeah.
You know, a line drive guy, but, you know, he may get in the streaks, they make mistakes. For him, I just don't consider him a home run hitter. I think Santana would be much more of a home run hitter than he would. But you could be right. It could be in your mind, you know, when you get to 99 and somebody's talking about it. Yeah.
You only need one more to get to 100.
Yeah.
And now it's like you can't get
nowadays,
it out of your head.
well, that happens. Anytime you come up to a number, you know, everybody knows about it and they talk about it. But you know what? Knowing him, the way he plays the game, I don't think so.
Giovanni Soto struck out his first time up. And it's a 1-ball, 1-strike count. As Corey Kluber, in his typical fashion, is trying to keep his team in the game. He's only allowed the 2 runs. Kipnis is there. He's called off, though, because Moss got there in time. 2 away.
Well, the Tribe will take on the Toronto Blue Jays Friday, May 1st, and you can save on tickets. You can buy lower box or lower reserve tickets for that game by April 27th, and you'll receive 25% off. Just go to Indians.com.
There's Micah Johnson. And a pitch in there for a strike. Cut over the top of it. When Johnson played at the University of Indiana, he was timed at 6'6" in the 60-yard dash. Slap, one-handed backhand grab, but he lost it in the spin around.
Yeah, you know, he had it and he was getting ready to throw it. It just didn't stay inside the glove. I'm sure they'll give him a base hit, but it's a play that I think Ramirez could have made. Even though Johnson can get down the line, it was hit awfully hard, and he had the right spot, backhanded it, just didn't stay in the glove.
It is a base hit for Johnson. 7th for Chicago, and a 2-out base runner for Adam Eaton.
And it's a spot here where if you're Johnson with 2 outs, you can take a chance at trying to steal a base. He has stolen 2 out of 3 this year. But with 2 outs and Adam Eaton, your leadoff hitter, it's the perfect time to run. You've got a 2-0 lead. You can afford to be aggressive.
Bluffed to move towards second. Decided not to go. Now he's going.
Yeah,
Perez with a throw. Got him! Whoa!
Great
What a throw by Roberto Perez.
Yes, it was.
Because Johnson had a great jump, but watch the throw right on the money. Ramirez slaps the tag on him, hitting over.
by the Cleveland Clinic. Call for an appointment today. And by the game-changing all-new Ford F-150. The future is tough.
Chicago with a 2-0 lead as we roll to the 5th inning. For the Tribe, Jason Kipnis, Michael Brantley, and Carlos Santana due up. Jeff Samardzija starts the inning. This is his 94th pitch of the day. And Kipnis is out number 1.
Well, let's check out the throw from Roberto Perez. This will be our McDonald's. I'm loving it. I mean, right into the slide. He had a great jump, and that's about the only place that throw could have been, Matt, to get him right there. So, really nice throw. Ends that inning. Let's go. Jog in. Nice job.
No action in the Chicago bullpen, though. There are bodies up getting loose and limber.
I don't blame them. So are we. Just to get up and move around and get the blood flowing.
Michael Brantley has popped up on the infield and flied to left. He's in the hole 0-2. Rings him up on a called 3rd strike. And that is out number 2 now for the Indians here in the 5th inning.
It's a breaking ball, backdoor breaking ball to Michael Brantley on the outside corner. Say it comes in, gets the corner, and brings him up. Out number 2, 3rd strikeout for Samardzija.
Let's go down to Andre and the Indians' current home run situation. They've hit 11, but Andre, all solo shots.
All solo shots. Got me to wondering when was the last time a team did that. The last time that happened was the Reds back in 1988. They had their first 15 home runs were all solo shots. In the American League, it was back in 1975 for the Brewers, who their first 12 home runs were all solo shots.
Well, and again, I think
that is a little weird.
Well, and you look at what the Indians, where's their biggest struggle offensively been? Hitting with men on base. They just haven't been able to get the rally going because they're missing that one big hit. Now, last night they equaled their season high by plating 6 runs. And how they do it? Well, a couple of big hits with men on base last night. 2-out, 2-run single by Rayburn in a pinch hit scenario.
Brantley had
2-out RBI single by Brantley.
Well, Santana has 3 of those solo home runs.
Murph Dog, he's got a solo shot. 2-2. Santana backs away a close pitch. Full count. Popped him straight up. Alexei Ramirez makes the grab. And the inning is over. Indians go 1-2-3 for the 2nd time today. They still trail 2-0. injury lawyers at Elk and Elk. Zach Walters and Nick Swisher headed for the rehab assignment portion of their comeback trail.
Yeah, what, Walters today and Swisher on Friday, I believe. That's what Andre said yesterday.
Now what that means is that they'll start their rehab assignment, but I believe there's a period, I don't remember exactly, I think it's 21 days maybe. So depending on how much time they need, and I think in Nick's case he really didn't have a spring training, so he might need the full available time.
Well, it all depends on how he's moving, how the knees are responding when you get to game action. Yes.
Adam Eaton fouls it off. 1 ball, 1 strike. Eaton hauled out on strikes in the first, and then he doubled and scored in the third. He was fooled on that pitch, 1-on-1. Piece of that, pounds it over toward the Indians dugout. Now the 1-2. Rick foul. Well, the White Sox offensively through the first 4 innings. On Monday they had 3 hits, no runs. Last night they had 4 hits, 1 run on the solo shot. Tonight, or today, 7 hits and a couple of runs scored. So they've gotten out to their fastest start so far in the series. That's driven to right, but right at Moss. 1 down. Over 60 live events, 2 networks, 1 month. It's April in the OHIO, and you can win a terrific sports experience by texting TRIBE on STO to 733-733. Win lunch with Terry Francona, 18 holes of golf with Jimmy Hamlin and Carling Nolan. Again, just text TRIBE on STO to 733-733. Message and data rates may apply. Melky Cabrera 1 for 2.
Cabrera set up the 3rd inning with a base hit to left after the Eaton double, but he did try to 1 bunt and he double hit it at the plate and took it in the back of the noggin.
He might still have a ringing in his ears. Broke his back, and Jose Ramirez will throw him out. 2 down. In-game recap brought to you by your Toyota dealers. Jose Abreu with 2 outs, bases empty in the first. Oppo, his 5th home run of the year. Then in the 3rd, no RBI here. He grounded into a double play. Adam Eaton would come home to score, and that has been it. And that's because Jeff Samardzija threw 5 innings pitching a 5-hit shutout, and the Indians are 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. They've had chances, can't cash in to this point. Big bouncer to third baseman Lonnie Chisenhall. Low throw, nicely backhanded by Carlos Santana. And the Sox are retired in order for the first time today. 5 in the books. White Sox 2, Indians nothing. The Indians take on the Tigers. It's a game you can only see on Fox Sports 1. Subway Series also with the Yankees and the Mets. Coverage begins at 12:30 Eastern on America's Home for Baseball every Saturday, Fox Sports 1. Brandon Moss swings, lines one right field. It's by Avisail Garcia. To the wall it goes. Moss on his way to second base, and he'll pull in with a leadoff double.
First extra base hit for the Indians today. First hit for Brandon Moss. Take a look at this pitch, and he smoked it. Oh, fastball right there. Gets it past Garcia to the wall. So the leadoff double. Let's see if that can help the Indians get on the board here. They did have their leadoff man one other time. That was in the 4th inning.
David Murphy is 2 for 2 on the day. And the pitch is outside, ball 1. Lefty-righty action in the Chicago pen. Murphy bounces it to second base, and Johnson will throw him out. Moss to third. And up comes Lonnie Chisenhall. And Jennings, the left-hander. Jake Petrichka, the right-hander, is Robin Ventura going to stay with Samardzija.
Well, he had an opportunity to drive one in from third earlier in the game. First time on the year he wasn't able to get him home. Another opportunity here.
And it's 0-2.
Well, he's smothering him, not giving him any swinging room whatsoever. And he's chased a couple pitches in off the plate.
Loop towards center. Eaton coming hard. He'll make the basket catch, and no chance to advance for Moss. 2 down. So we'll see if Roberto Perez can break this string for the Indians. 0 for 7 on the day with a runner in scoring position. Perez is part of that. He lined to right with runners at first and third to end the second inning. Low and away, ball one.
Well, that first and the fifth, he had pretty good innings, and then there was a lot of 20s in the middle part of it. So he is winding it down, trying to get through here the sixth inning. Bullpen's ready to go if needed.
Good breaking ball, dropped it in for a strike. He gets ahead now, 1 ball and 2 strikes with the runner at third and 2 down.
Goes the slider here, takes enough off. Perez just not swinging. Not something you want to swing at unless you have to.
Chopped to short. Alexi Ramirez slings it over, and another opportunity goes by the boards for Cleveland. Middle of the sixth, 2-0 White Sox. Jeff Samardzij's day is over after 6 shutout innings. We're going to the bottom of the 6th inning, and it will be Adam LaRoche, Avisail Garcia, and Connor Gillespie due for Chicago.
Well, the Indians had opportunities against him today. They just weren't able to cash in. Again, Kluber's out there giving up 2, no more than that in every start this year. So he's going to try and hold them right there in hopes that they can get to that Chicago bullpen. You know, Samardzija was one guy that they weren't scoring for, but they've scored him 8 on the year. Kluber, the Indians have scored just 5 times when he's been on the mound.
Well, sometimes that does take into account the guy who you're opposing.
Yeah.
Early in the year, especially, you get locked up with the other team's top pitcher. Adam LaRoche for the line drive single in the right field. He's a perfect 2 for 2 with a walk today. And that is 1, 2, just the second time the Sox have had their leadoff man aboard against Kluber.
Yeah, they cashed in the third because it was an extra base hit, but there's looked like a little cutter out over the plate. LaRoche takes advantage of, gets a base hit. 8 hits now for the Sox, which is that's a lot against Kluber. But this is a Chicago team. We've talked about it since they were back in Cleveland. They are an aggressive team. They do not take a lot, and they get after pitches early.
Ramirez going to flip it to Kipnis for one on the first. Not in time. Garcia runs very well for a big guy. And he beats it out. 1 away.
Well, this ball going right back up the middle. It's a two-seam fastball. He hits it on the ground. They get the ground ball. They just don't turn it. And you're right. For a big man, he does get down the line very well.
Connor Gillespie will be the batter 0 for 2 on the day. Drilled to right. Moss going to have to hurry. He can't cut it off. Garcia plowing around the bases. He's headed home. Now they throw the stop sign up. And he'll have to hold at third. Good relay from Moss to Kipnis on to Perez. But now Chicago with a chance to add to their lead. Second and third and only 1 out.
Well, he gets a good pitch to hit there. A fastball out over the plate, and he does. He hits it. Gets to the wall. As Moss gets it in, they decide to hold him up at third base. Second and third now with 1 out. So you got Ramirez, the hitter. That may be something that Joe McEwing wanted to do, make sure.
Well, Mickey Callaway's going to go out and talk with Kluber. Do you even take a chance and pitch to Ramirez in this situation with Soto and then the rookie Micah Johnson?
Well, if you do, you really pitch him tough. You know, you make him go after your pitch, break the balls away, see if he'll chase anything. If not, you walk him, then you've got a double play in order. I think that's probably what they're talking about. But you're right. This is a guy, you can't afford to give up any more. Offensively, you're not scoring. There's a 2-0 lead. But I think they feel maybe Kluber's good enough. He can make some pitches on them to see if they'll swing. The infield will come in. Soto, the on-deck hitter.
Well, there's no doubt Kluber is good enough. He struck Ramirez out his last time up.
Well, he got his fastball to hit earlier. He's not going to get one to hit in this at-bat. I wouldn't think.
Low, ball 1.
You know, he knows that even as a hitter, that he may not get anything to hit. But as a hitter, you still have to be ready because you never know. You could get that pitch. It could be a mistake. That was a mistake to Gillespie, that he threw a fastball right there and he jumped on it. But if they get to 2-0, maybe they'll just go ahead and put him on.
Oh, it goes to the backstop and a run will score on a wild pitch.
That's another thing, and that's the third one. His wild pitches hurt him in his last start in Minnesota. He had 2. He had 3 wild pitches all last year, and that is his third.
And that will snap his streak as he has allowed 3 runs in the game now.
And you can see that ball very wide into the left-handed batter's box. Gets away from Perez. It allows the run to score. And you still have the runner move up to third base.
Kluber had gone 8 straight starts, allowing 2 runs or less and going at least 6 innings. And now he's given up 3 on that wild pitch. Infield still drawn in, and Ramirez swings and misses. It's 2-1. the 2-1. Chased one there. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Now, Ramirez may have thought he wasn't going to get anything to hit, but maybe you start getting a little anxious.
Well, you want to get the runner in from third base is what happens, and you're playing on the aggressiveness of Ramirez. You can't give in here, but now when he gets to 2 strikes, we'll see if he stays that aggressive.
Slider, and he got him looking. Ramirez unhappy. He was asking, did you call it on the check swing or was it a called strike? It was a called strike. Well, 6th strikeout of the day for Kluber.
Let's see, that slider, that's a good pitch. Right on the outside edge. He makes a perfect pitch. See, he didn't want to chase it. He was going to try and tighten it up with 2 strikes. He got aggressive early, but he gets rung up right there. And unfortunately, that wild pitch allowed them 1 run to score to make it a 3-0 game. But now Kluber a chance to get out of it and keep it where it is.
Infield back normal depth with 2 down. Giovanni Soto has struck out, flied out. And a fastball in there for strike 1. Shot foul the other way. Gordon Beckham, the pinch runner. He's at third base. Shatters the bat. Ramirez scoops it up and throws him out. So the inning is over, but the Sox get a big insurance run. After 6, they lead it 3-0. Kia. Visit mykiacleveland.com to learn more. By Levin Mattress, located in all Levin furniture and freestanding locations. And by AT&T Uverse, has more channels on the go than cable. Three 0 White Sox lead it. And today's Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen is for Dan Jennings. Left-hander coming on to face Jose Ramirez, and then the top of the order for the Tribe. Jennings' 7th appearance of the year. No wins or losses. ERA at 3.86.
Pitched an inning and 2/3 in game 1 of the series. Allowed a walk and a strikeout, and that was it. Beckham stays in the game at third base, but part of the team they've really tightened up is their bullpen.
Ball 1 to Jose Ramirez. We'll see if a change in the pitching spot will help this Indians offense that has gone 0 for 8 today with a runner in scoring position. Chopped to third. A diving stop by Beckham. Isn't that something? Just right into the game.
No kidding. Right into the game, and he takes one step and dives. Flags it down, able to get up and throw out Ramirez. A good play to start the inning and keep the leadoff man off base. He made a great play. He was playing in Detroit in the last start Samardzija had and made a tremendous play at third base to turn a double play. The only difference, he started that game. He's coming in for defense here. And right out of the chute. Well, we always say that ball, it'll find you. You go out there on the field. It certainly did. First swing of the bat. When Beckham first came up, he played third base. They moved him over to second. And no stranger over there.
Born a chopper to short, and Alexei Ramirez takes care of him. 2 away.
Well, grab some friends and catch a game at our new 2-story bar with our $13 district ticket that is presented by Sports Time Ohio. The new bar is in the best place in town to grab a cold one, and with the district ticket, your first drink is on us. Go to Indians.com.
Jason Kipnis, 1 for 3 on the day, will step in.
Now the Sox bullpen, we told you about it yesterday. They got a 1.80 ERA since April 11th.
Dan Jennings is throwing nothing but strikes. Kipnis fouling it back. Jennings, a California kid by birth, but he was raised in the heartland, Des Moines, Iowa. Led his high school team, Valley High and West Des Moines, Iowa, to back-to-back state championships. Kipnis went around, and that was quick. 1, 2, 3 go the Indians. Chicago leads it 2-0, and it's time now for the 7th inning stretch, brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. And Chicago will have their number 9 hitter leading off bottom of the 7th, Micah Johnson. Corey Kluber begins the inning. 90 pitches on the day. Action in the bullpen. And a strike is called. Johnson 1 for 2 with a single. He tried to steal a base back in the 4th inning, but Roberto Perez made a perfect throw to nail him and end the inning.
Well, he sure did.
Blooped left center. Nobody can get it. Drops for a hit. And then the Sox get their leadoff man aboard. 3rd time today.
Yeah, that's just it where they aren't. Everybody converging on it, and it falls in. Nobody could catch that one. So Johnson gets his 2nd base hit of the day. That's number 10 that Kluber has given up. It's the most this year in any game.
See how Robin Ventura and the Sox play this. Johnson good speed, Eaton good bunter.
Well, Perez already proved he can make a perfect throw in this situation.
And the dirt gets away. Perez can't smother it, and down to 2nd goes Johnson.
I'm sure it hit, maybe hitting the dirt, but that didn't look like that tough of a one to block, to be honest with you. Let's take a look at it. It's right in front of him, and it just went off his glove.
Yep.
The thumb of his glove, and it stayed down. It didn't come up into the chest protector. It'll go as another wild pitch. So in the last 2 starts, Kluber has 4. That one off the thumb of the glove of Perez and puts him into scoring position. Now you might see him bunt.
Swinging, and he pushes it through the left side of the infield. Johnson will stop at 3rd.
That's the 2nd time today that they had their leadoff man on 2nd base. They were able to fight one off and take it to left. Cabrera did that after Eaton doubled back in the 3rd inning, and they scored. So now they have it 1st and 3rd again. Nobody out. They didn't try pulling a ball, and you can see where they were playing him up the middle. He just pushed it the opposite way. Gets his man to 3rd base, does his job, gets a base hit. And now the Sox back in business.
Melky Cabrera 1 for 3 on the day. And he finds the hole on the left side. 4-0 Chicago as Johnson comes home to score, and the Sox have opened the 7th with 3 straight singles.
Boy, and pretty good approaches, the last 2 guys. I mean, they just stayed on the ball, looking for something away, getting it there, and just staying on it. 2 pretty good approaches in a row. After Johnson started the inning off, he flared one in that you're not going to catch it. Now 12 hits given up by Corey Kluber today. That's a career high. Last time was 11 hits. That was June 27th, 2013 at Baltimore.
Jose Abreu 1 for 3 on the day. And he fouls it back.
4 guys in this lineup today, man. They have 2 hits off Kluber.
Yeah, Micah Johnson with a couple of singles. And then you got
Eaton, Cabrera, and LaRoche. Needs a ground ball double play.
Inside, moved him back 1-1. Anthony Swarzak and Mark Zubczynski both loosening for Cleveland. This might be the last batter of the game for Kluber. 1-1. With the left-handed hitting LaRoche on deck, and he's already 2 for 2 with a walk. Adam Eaton and Melky Cabrera are the base runners. Kluber deals, and a big swing and a miss by Abreu. Chasing after that cut fastball away. It was 43 degrees at game time. The temperature is shot all the way up to 44. But the Sox bats have not been cooled off by the frigid temperatures, hanging out a dozen hits. But to Corey Kluber's credit, and to give you an idea of why he's such a good pitcher, why he's the reigning Cy Young Award winner, most guys, it's hard to scatter a dozen hits. But he's been able to pitch in and out of some trouble. He's only retired the side in order 1, 2, 3 one time today.
Well, the wild pitch got him a run in the 6th inning. Another wild pitch sent a guy into scoring position that came around to score in this inning.
The 2-2. Chop foul over the head of Joe McEwing, the third base coach. He's going to have to stay limber all year long. He's already had a few missiles hit over his head in this series.
Well, he's up for it.
2 on, nobody out. Tribe down 4. Corey's 2-2 pitch. And Abreu launches one over the head of Murphy in deep left field. It's going to one-hop the fence. Around third, Eaton will score. Cabrera right on his heels. He comes home as well. And the Sox now lead it 6-0. Jose Abreu with his second hit of the game. He's driven in 3 on the afternoon.
I'll tell you, this guy is a very good off-speed hitter. Boy, oh boy, again, he's going to pick on a breaking ball. And he drills it, and deep to left field. It's going to short hop the wall. He hit the breaking ball out to right center. His first at bat, he pulls this one, sends Murphy to the wall. So it's 4 straight hits here in the 7th inning, and that's going to wrap up the day for Corey Kluber as Francona comes to the mound, and he'll leave at a 6-0 deficit.
Career high 13 hits allowed by Kluber. A rough day at the office as Chicago has staked themselves to a 6-0 lead in the rubber match of this 3-game series. All right, Anthony Swarzak into the ball game now, making his 5th appearance of the year. Adam LaRoche will be the batter. Indians facing a big deficit now, down a half dozen. One ball, one strike.
LaRoche has been on base 3 times today. A couple of singles and a walk.
Jose Abreu driving in 3 of the 6 runs for Chicago today. To left field. And David Murphy will grab it 1 away.
KeyBank Kids tickets start at just $10 for kids 12 and under with the purchase of an adult ticket. Kids tickets located in the new family deck out at Progressive Field, home to our expanded kids clubhouse. Log on to Indians.com.
Avisail Garcia 1 for 3 here today.
Indians with an off day tomorrow, as the Chicago White Sox will host the Kansas City Royals, coming in for a 4-game series. Ventura and Sale will go at it tomorrow.
Garcia retired on a nice play by Jose Ramirez, and there are 2 down on the 7th. Jose Abreu moves over to 3rd. Gordon Beckham will get his first at bat of the game. Now, Kansas City continuing to play well. They've won 3 straight. Both the Royals and Tigers tied atop the Central at 11-3.
Yeah, 2 teams. The Mets as well.
Yeah, tied for the best record in all of baseball.
Yeah. Well, and the one thing, playing in your division, boy, that's when you want to play well. And everybody, we've been doing it because we'll go to Detroit for the weekend after tomorrow's off day. And then we'll welcome the Kansas City Royals into Cleveland when we return home. So it's not going to get any easier.
Well, yeah. 17 consecutive games against the Central Division for the Tribe, and they're 3-7 so far.
And you got the 2 teams that are 11-3 coming at you.
Brace for the onslaught. And they've got to try to right the ship here in a hurry.
Well, they got to try and score some runs is what they have to do. It's been an offensive struggle. First 14 games into the season.
2-2 foul back out of play. Now the 2-2 and a swing and a foul back by Beckham. Zach Duke loosening for the White Sox. Pretty much if you're a right-handed reliever and the Indians are coming to town, you can take the 3 days off. Swing and a miss by Beckham, inning over, but the Sox blow it open with 3 in the 7th. They lead at 6-0. of the Cleveland Indians and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians. Stay tuned for Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. It's coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio with Al Pulaski and Jensen Lewis. 8th inning. Brantley, Santana, and Moss due for the Tribe. Zach Duke coming in for Chicago. Duke making his second appearance in the series. He pitched last night, worked a scoreless inning with a walk and a strikeout. Brantley cuts and misses, and it's 1-1.
That's what makes him tough on left-handed. You see him come down and throw 3/4. Looks like he stepped to first base a little more than he did on the last pitch. Tough to pick up.
Down and back. Carlos Santana waits on deck. Brantley in the hole, 1-2. A little bit low, and that'll even things up. Terry Francona on this his 56th birthday. Not much to celebrate to this point. Lays off low, full count.
Good take there by Michael Brantley. Again, for the second time this at bat, he comes down and shows him a different arm angle. I'm sure he gets a lot of swings and misses when you don't get a chance to face him too often, but he didn't swing.
It was low, and it's ball 4, so the Indians get their leadoff man aboard. For only the 3rd time today. As promised earlier, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Jose Abreu has been a thorn in their side. He's been a guy that you want to try to face him when he can't do a lot of damage to you, so you can work around him.
Well, you better not leave many breaking balls on the plate to that guy, because he does a lot of damage to him. Second straight game he's led off the bottom of the first, or given him the lead with home runs, solo home runs in the bottom half of the first. Yeah, he's a tough hitter. Yeah, you go from him, dealing with him, then you got to go into Detroit and deal with Cabrera. Another great hitter.
Carlos Santana is rung up. 2 down, or 1 down, and now Ryan Rayburn, you may have seen him in the on-deck circle. Get a chance to bat here today. Rayburn's been one of the Indians' best hitters, especially lately. On the year now, Rayburn hitting at a .381 clip with a homer, 7 runs batted in. 7 RBIs, 1 shy of the team lead. Held by Carlos Santana. Pinch hitting for Brandon Moss, who was 1 for 2 with a double. And a strike is called. Rayburn bounces it foul, third base side. Rayburn Rayburn's hit in 5 straight, and he's been red hot. Terrific at bat last night in the ball game. And for that matter, in the series opener too, when he homered off John Danks. The last night in pinch hit capacity, delivered a big 2-run single.
Opened it up in that inning.
Rayburn rung up, 2 down.
Comes back with that sweeping breaking ball.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Being a called strike. 2 away. Jerry Sands now going to be a pinch hitter. No bad for David Murphy, who was 2 for 3 today. Way outside, ball 1. Broken bat. Grounder gets by Johnson. And Jerry Sands with a 2-out pinch hit single keeps the inning alive. And we're going to get a pinch hitter now for Lonnie Chisenhall, as Mike Aviles will be coming to the plate.
Well, our new Tribetown MVP's Kids Club is designed for dedicated Tribe fans between the ages of 6 and 14. MVPs take their part in exclusive events and receive cool gear to add to their collection. Go to Indians.com for more information.
Terry Francona literally unloading the bench here in this 8th inning with 3 consecutive pinch hitters. The only guy left is his backup catcher, Brett Hayes. And Aviles takes a strike. Outside, 1-1. So far, Mike with 5 hits and 8 at bats on the road, including a home run. A little bit outside. Three balls, 2 strikes for Mike Aviles. Really strange for Aviles that he's had a tough time against the lefties, wearing out the right-handers. 4 for 8 against right-handed pitching, just 3 for 17 against the southpaws. Runners go, and a 3-2 foul back. Michael Brantley's at second base. Jerry Sands at first. They'll be off with this 3-2 pitch to Aviles. And another foul right back. Indians have been shut out to this point. Can Aviles give him a little lift here? Jolt to center field. Eaton makes the catch on the move to end the inning, and the Tribe strands 2 more. Last night, Mark Zubchinski, Brian Shaw, Cody Allen, Zach McAllister, along with Carrasco and Atchison, combined for 15 punch-outs and not a single walk. Bouncing ball up the middle, and that's through. Alexei Ramirez leads off the 8th with a single. He is one. I'll make that 2 for 4 on the day.
Well, the boys that were pinch hitting go into the ball game. Rayburn in left, Sands in right, Aviles to third. 6 White Sox hitters with 2 hits today.
Fastball strike over the outside corner. You know, one last note on the 15 strikeouts with not a walk last night by the Indians. Joe pointed out 8 of those 15 strikeouts ended an inning. Only one time in the game last night did an inning not end on a strikeout for Cleveland pitchers. And 12 of the 15 were of the swinging variety. So, you know, we talked about it. Carrasco just had pure filthy changeup last night to go along with a 97, 98 mile an hour fastball. And the guys came out of the pen and backed him up, did very well. Brian Shaw, another big strikeout. Giovanni Soto's out looking, 1 away.
Speaking of strikeouts,
now it's time for the Hyundai in-game box score. Now look at that, the top 4 hitters for Chicago, all with 2 hits apiece.
a lot of crooked numbers up there.
And the Indians just haven't been able to buy a clutch hit. That's what's kept them really out of the game. They're 0 for 9 with a runner in scoring position. You bloop one in, break a bat here and there, and you get a couple of runs on the board. You at least keep the pressure on them that you're coming, but you haven't been able to get on the board. So Chicago's been able to play, for the most part, free and easy.
Yeah, they had the lead from the first, added on in the third, the 6th, and then really opened it up in the 7th. That ricocheted, the guy in the yellow jacket down there. Ricocheted, he brought a glove, he caught it, and he was on the phone as he turned around and it went into his glove. He was on the phone before that even happened.
Hold on a second, I got to take this ball. Okay, I'm back.
Like it was no big deal.
Micah Johnson takes a strike. It's 1-2. Alexei Ramirez led off the inning with a single. He's held at first by Santana. The 2-2 from Swarzak. Just missed. And a full count. Throw it by him, strikes him out. 2 down in the 8th. Stay tuned after the game for Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. Alan Jensen will break it down, the highlights, the lowlights, and everything in between. Top of the order, and Adam Eaton, he's 2 for 4 with a single, a double, and 2 runs scored. He came into this series really limping offensively, but you see there he's come up with 5 hits. And he was lugging around a 136 average when the series started. He's picked up 5 hits and pushed it up to 200.
Yeah, early in the year, if you have a good series or a good, stretch, you can pick it up and you're right back into the swing of things with so few at bats.
1-1 hit in the air. Jerry Sands. He's been called off by Bourne, who makes the grab, and the inning is over. We'll go to the 9th. 6-0 Chicago. Jeff Samardzija was the starter for Chicago today, and he went 6 innings. He allowed 6 hits, walked 2, struck out 3. Wasn't dazzling, wasn't overpowering, but the Indians could never get to him. And that's the name of the game. He kept him off the scoreboard.
Made the pitches when he had to make them. And it was the first time he ever faced the Indians. They had opportunities, but as you said, couldn't cash it in. So he ends up throwing 6 innings, 6 shutout innings, and matched up against Kluber.
Jake Petrichka into the game now for the White Sox. Petrichka just got the call up when this series began, so this is his first appearance. Roberto Perez, the leadoff, 0 for 3 on the day. Ball 1, it's inside. Last year at home, Petrichka was virtually unhittable. He had a 2.08 earned run average in his 35 games pitched here in Chicago. That's inside. 2-0. That one almost hit him. 3-0. Six runs on 14 hits for the White Sox. No runs, 7 hits for the Indians. It's a late called strike. And he walks the leadoff man. Looking back at our wayside furniture keys to the game, run support for Kluber, not today. And for Jeff Samardzija, we mentioned he made the pitches when he needed to. Jose Ramirez 1 for 3. He singled back in the 4th inning. Robbed of a hit in the 7th when third baseman Gordon Beckham made a nice diving play at third. Ground ball, diving stop, backhanded by Ramirez, goes to second for 1, and that's all they'll get. But that was a fantastic play by Alexei Ramirez.
Well, Ramirez has had a couple of hits taken away from him on the left side of that infield. Look at that on our Wendy's slow motion right here. Goes to his backhand side, gets the lead runner, but they try to turn to, but Ramirez beats it out. A nice play. So Jose's been taken from 2 base hits today.
Now top of the order, Michael Bourne. Looks at the ball down low. Bourne 1 for 4. Jake Petrichka, born and raised in Minnesota, went on to pitch collegiately at the alma mater of Larry Bird. Indiana State. I think they're the Sycamores.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They are, huh? That's pretty good. The Sycamores. Is that a tree?
Could be. I just remember, the only thing I know about Indiana State is those unis that they wore. Remember the powder blue. Larry Bird and the magic of Magic Johnson, their rivalry had begun. 2-2 down in the dirt, full count. And the payoff pitch. Bourne lines it back up the middle. And Jose Ramirez will stop at second base. So the Indians have 2 on with 1 out, and Jason Kitten is coming up. Zach Putnam getting loose as Jason Kipnis steps in. And he takes a called strike. All right, so here we go. You ready? You ready for this one?
Yeah, I got
2 on and 1 out. The Indiana State original school nickname was the Fighting Teachers because they were originally a state teachers college.
The Fighting Teachers.
And then the students chose the name Sycamores due to the abundance of sycamore trees in Indiana.
There you go.
Especially the Wabash River Valley.
Okay.
See,
so why
we
is
learned
it baby
something
blue?
today.
Should have been green or brown unis.
All right, you're asking too much now.
The Sycamores.
Down low. Isn't Stanford? Isn't their mascot a big tree? It's like looks like a Christmas tree. 2-2. Right up the middle. Alexi Ramirez is standing there waiting for it. Double play ends the day. And it's another series loss for the Indians as they're blanked this afternoon 6-0 by Chicago. Tribe falls to 5-9 as Chicago goes to 6-8. Jeff Samardzija gets his first win in a White Sox uniform, evening his season record of 1-1. Corey Kluber takes the loss. He falls to 0-2. And Chicago takes the series, winning 2 out of 3 with the blanking of the Indians here this afternoon. White Sox a winner. We'll got some final thoughts right after this.